Let's talk about week 14. This is the show where we go through every single fantasy relevant player and most importantly, every single contest that happened here in week 14 and dive into the details, the game changing moments, and the prime time players that made it all happen. And Hayden, we have to start in the NFC freaking North as the new look Chicago Bears travel to Green Bay. Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, but in the end, final play, the Packers hold on 28-21, and they are in command of the division from here on out at a 9-3-1 record.
The Packers felt like a team that could win the Super Bowl, and this one, when Jordan Love is completing multiple downfield passes, it's just a really difficult team to beat. So we had a pair of them. Christian Watson against a safety scores a 40-yard touchdown, and then Christian Watson once again wins at the line of scrimmage, big yards after the catch play. The fact that they got Christian Watson to reach over 21 miles per hour. Remember, Christian Watson, he tore his ACL in 2025. It was like January 5th of this year. And he's reaching these this explosiveness. He's been the guy that's replaced the Tucker Kraft yards after the catch. And boy, did they absolutely need him. And then also Bo Melton, who barely played in this one. He gets over the top for a 45-yarder.
Barely played wide receiver in training camp. Played cornerback.
He's barely playing, period, man. By the way, just quickly for fantasy purposes, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are not full-time players. They're running the most routes. Jaden Reed's in the same exact role in the slot. He had, I think, just a couple catches underneath in this one. And then Matthew Golden and Bo Melton both play a couple snaps at the expense of the top two wide receivers. That's what it's going to be the rest of the way. Christian Watson's been awesome. Romeo Doubs didn't have a catch in this one. But once again, it was just Jordan Love a couple times throwing off the back foot all the way down the field for the explosives. And then Josh Jacobs, when you absolutely need him, he gets to the outside. There's about 2 or 3 Bears in the backfield, kind of wiggles between them and then finishes off a run. I thought he was going to go like full beast mode and end up in the end zone. A couple plays later, he does give the Packers a 1-score lead. Obviously, the Chicago Bears, they march down there and they have a chance to win it. But for me, this game was all about the Packers. This felt like a very complete team. Key interception at the end, but really explosives and then some like consistent ground game. The Packers have that right now.
Couple notes on Christian Watson. 4 targets, 4 catches, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns. Since he like really returned into this lineup, and I'll take, November 16th as that. And ever since then, these last 4 games, he went 4 for 46 and 2, then 5 for 49, then 4 for 80 and 1. And here again, 4 for 89 and 2. Here's a question for you, because me included, none of us really expected Christian Watson to even play this season based on his injury and how brutal it looked. Davis Maddock posted this. Christian Watson in over 670,000 Best Ball Mania teams out there was only drafted on 2,344 of them. Again, of 670,000 Best Ball Mania teams, Christian Watson was only drafted in 2,344 of them. He looks better than he ever has before.
He does.
Early in his rookie season, when Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback, it was all, I'm not going to say he's fluky, but high variance downfield shots. He's still getting those, but at the same time, he's running legit breaking routes to the sideline and being extremely consistent in every area of his performance.
Yeah, Marshawn Lloyd drafted a lot more than Christian Watson was. And by the way, we do 216 picks. So the fact that he was not being picked there just shows what a feat this is for Christian Watson. And by the way, he ran 21 routes today. It's like he's doing this level of production on not the same amount of volume that we're typically seeing. So he's going to be a tough one to rank moving forward. But once again, the Packers offense is very real. Micah Parsons made a big impact in this one. He was kind of chasing around Caleb Williams. So Caleb Williams was like living outside the structure the entire game, but for a reason. There was a lot of pressure that Micah Parsons was putting on them. They played Enter Sandman on that last drive. So just like a really fun environment in Green Bay. Just feels like a team that can go the distance.
Okay, we got to talk about the Bears here because just 3 points in the first half. Meanwhile, the Packers had 14. Caleb Williams at that point, I think, had 28 total yards.
We don't talk about the first half.
Well, I feel like we do have to in these pivotal moments and these pivotal games, because I think the Bears are being let down by the passing games in the first half or the first quarters. And while they have won it in recent weeks against the best teams, once we get to the playoffs, which the Bears are still likely to get to, and hopefully the NFC Championship and maybe a replay of this game down the road, you're going to have more than 28 yards and 3 points from the offense in the first half. I'm not saying that's all on him. It's also how the game is called, and he can only execute what is out there. But it's getting to this point where his second halves are saving the passing offenses on these spectacular moments, but it's almost delaying it while you can still win games that way. Here it is, got to have it, 4th and 1, 30-ish seconds to go, and one play can go any direction, and he just underthrows Cole Kmet there for a game-tying touchdown.
Yeah, the first half was tough. It felt like they were like really scared of Micah Parsons. They were trying to run the ball. They threw a couple screens that went nowhere, and then there's just some of their plays where Caleb was kind of flushed out of the pocket, and he was just not settled in the first half. I think that they really missed Rome Odunze as well. So most of the game, even when the Bears were moving the ball, was all out of structure. Like, they did not have just somebody that was like consistently winning on dig routes, sit routes, and feeling good in zone coverage. The good news is Caleb Williams is such a freak on the move that he was able to still kind of save his day there. So there's a bunch of plays on the move where, I mean, the one touchdown, I mean, I could not believe that he was able to fit that ball in there. But ultimately down, I think the very last play of the game, what happened was 4th and 1, and they're going to kind of get him over to his left, a play that they throw a lot. Like, this is not the first time that they ran this play. DJ Moore's kind of, well, first of all, I think that Caleb Williams has the ability to run there. They had that covered. The first read was also covered. So it was either going to be Cole Kmet or DJ Moore. DJ Moore's coming up behind the offensive line, and he's going to be kind of just like the last outlet. The player that was guarding him, Nixon, who ultimately intercepts this, was traveling in man coverage. He sees that Cole Kmet is wide open. He bails on DJ Moore and then runs into the end zone. So that was not his intended skill guy that he was going to be covering. Caleb Williams just does not put enough velocity on that one, which he definitely can. Just missed did not have the right club to throw that, and that ultimately cost the game. But that was really frustrating because they had a lot of fight there. They weren't completely ran over based off the trenches on either side of the ball. Jacobs got him for a little bit. Micah Parsons got him for a little bit. But I think the Bears played pretty tough here. They were just like missing like one superstar player on either side of the ball. And I thought that the Packers had that with Christian Watson, Micah Parsons, and Jordan Love. I thought Caleb Williams played fine in the second half. But for the most part, they were just missing like one true all-pro level player on either side of the ball.
Here's my argument, okay? They actually got a lot from their rookies. They got a lot in Luther Burden for 6 targets, 4 catches, 67 yards, the team's leading wide receiver, right? Mm-hmm. Was running outside routes and sitting in space and forcing corners off on his vertical routes and making catches and winning after the catch a little bit. Colson Loveland, a touchdown catch and a nice schemed up play where he basically hides through the entire offensive line and leaks out and no one covers him. Kyle Monangai, Tom Brady's favorite player.
Yes.
14 carries, 57 yards, just running at your face every single down. Who didn't show up is their highest paid offensive player.
Correct.
And that's DJ Moore. 3 targets, 1 catch, -4 yards. Our buddy Andy Behrens tweeted out that every design play for DJ Moore is like when Randy Johnson blew up the bird that flew over the plate, because these design screenplays are that's obvious. The only way DJ Moore gets targeted in these situations. He just cannot run routes. He's like not part of this offense in terms of a true downfield passing attack. And if the assets are devoted there and you don't have Rome Odunze, then I guess that's my answer to your question.
Yeah, that you don't feel like a normal drop back game without Rome Odunze out there. That's just like what it is. So I think that's a big time DJ Moore problem. And then obviously Caleb Williams is at fault to some degree there. And it's also just a very inexperienced offense in general. So they had some flashy moments, but there was just a lack of consistency to the entire game. I also just want to give credit real quick for Caleb Williams only taking 1 sack. I mean, he could have taken like 4 or 5 sacks. Like, that's just the one thing that we can just carry forward with Caleb Williams no matter what. Certainly he's missed some throws. There was a couple, I think, zone miscommunications between him and Luther Burden, and I think that DJ Moore got one as well. But they showed a lot of fight. They did go from the 1st seed down to the 7th seed. So they have to definitely win a lot of games moving forward to stay in the playoffs. That's just the reality of the NFC this year. I think they can go upset a team in the playoffs, but I do think they are ultimately one tier down from your Rams, your Packers, and we'll kind of divvy out the rest of the NFC. But it's cool that they're able to even just compete in a game in Green Bay this late into the season. Just the first year with Ben Johnson.
Okay, we're going to cite the Athletic Playoff Predictor and Simulator a lot this episode. Right now, the Chicago Bears are 74% to make the playoffs, 35% to still win the division. But like you said, that went from the number 1 seed, and that dropped down. In fact, I actually see it now updating mid-show. It's down to about 68% now to make the playoffs. The rest of the way, it's the Browns, the Packers, the 49ers, and the Lions. Again, facing the Browns defense, which we'll talk about a bit later, and maybe they didn't perform here in week 14. And then the Green Bay Packers, once again, albeit that one at home. This is just a great test for the Bears, and if they can, improve, because we have seen improvements for this team all season long. And then now you get a test from week 14 compared to week 16 against this Packers defense. And I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I still think the Bears are showing a lot of improvement. I think like this version of the Bears would still beat the September Bears by a decent bit. You felt that the Jalen Johnson, the linebackers being back, helped here. Now, unfortunately, Kyler Gordon didn't even make it to kickoff. He was ruled out before the game started. That was a key piece, and there's some huge Kyler Gordon on-off split. So,
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson covering Christian Watson in
there was a couple
the
times.
Slot for that big touchdown was, I think, a factor there too.
So that definitely hurt the Chicago Bears in the margins.
Packers at 96% to make the playoffs and win the division, I believe, is closer to 70% now. So I hate that they lost Tucker Kraft, but they are making it work, and we'll see how much that can carry them once they get to the playoffs, because they do have their get off the field player in Micah Parsons. That is for sure. Okay, we'll put a pin in the NFC and now travel to 3 games with incredible playoff ramifications on the AFC side. And we have to go into, I would say, the first blizzard of the 2025 season. And it ended in points, snowing points. 39 Buffalo Bills, 34 Cincinnati Bengals. A back and forth affair every single time I pop this one on. I mean, do I need to give you 12 minutes to recite everything that happened in this game or what?
I'll sum it up quickly. You will not see a better out of structure performance in the snow than what we just had with Josh Allen. And it happened the entire game. Like right away, there was a couple drives early on where it was just Josh Allen out of structure, out of structure, out of structure. He's going to his left, making throws. He's scrambling, obviously making plays, throwing the ball on the right. The one touchdown to Khalil Shakir, where he came to a complete stop after running out to the right, threw it to Khalil Shakir on the back shoulder. That was a fantastic play, and it was just relentless the entire time. Dalton Kincaid had a first read target touchdown, the Shakir touchdown that I talked about, and even players like Ty Johnson had an explosive where he just fell over, and that also would have been a long touchdown there. So this was just a huge Josh Allen game. Ultimately, after these teams went back and forth, no better way for how this one to end was 3rd and 15. If the Bengals get a stop, they'll have a chance to go down to potentially get the win. And on 3rd and 15, what does Josh Allen do? He sees its man coverage and he takes off and runs for a first down to ice this one. It wasn't anything about the rhythm of the offense. It was nothing about how the running backs were so sensational against the Bengals. What really just happened here is Josh Allen looked like an MVP player. This was one of the best snow games from a quarterback you will see. He didn't miss very many throws, and on top of that, he rushes 9 for 78 in one. It's just a total treat to see somebody like Josh Allen go to Buffalo in the elements here and just put on an MVP caliber performance.
Yeah, I mean, in these awkward games, Josh Allen just seemingly puts on a cape and puts the team on his back. I mean, 31 dropbacks, which 3 sacks include, but then 251 yards in that and 3 scores. And then you have your running back and James Cook, put the ball in the dirt twice inside of the 10-yard line. I mean, extremely notable of moments you have to overcome. And then we talk about the wide receivers all the time for the Bills, or the total lack thereof. Well, when you face the Cincinnati Bengals, you have the best tight end in the league on your roster, because Dawson Knox goes 6 for 93 and Dalton Kincaid goes 4 for 41 and 1.
It was the most Bengals performance ever. So one of those James Cook fumbles that you're talking about, you know who was the one that forced it? It was DJ Turner. So DJ Turner goes out there, forces the fumble at the goal line. And also the leading receiver, actual wide receiver for Buffalo, is Gabe frickin' Davis at 21 yards. So I went on that big rant about how good Josh Allen was. His number 1 wide receiver was at 21 yards. The reason being, Dawson Knox, who you talked about on the Sit Start show, he goes crazy, 6 for 93. The first play of the game, by the way, was a 32-yard crossing route where Dawson Knox was left wide open. So we knew exactly what was going to happen with the tight ends. And then Dalton Kincaid has that first read touchdown, 4 for 41 himself. So it's just like the same exact thing that the Bengals struggle with. They can't bring down Josh Allen. Ty Johnson got sprung open for a big play there, and then they can't stop the tight ends. So it was just like the most obvious way that the Buffalo Bills were going to move the ball, and that's exactly how they were able to do it.
Can I now bring up my concern about the Buffalo Bills and
Sure.
ask if this game really changed any of our minds on anything? Because look, the Bills are making the playoffs. They're 90% to make the playoffs. Unlikely they overcome a 2-game deficit to outright win the AFC East. So we know they're going to make the playoffs. One, this is the Bengals defense. Okay. We've seen in other times when Josh Allen is forced to go into hero mode because, other teams can actually cover a tight end once in a while. And then their lack of wide receivers, that he can struggle against really solid pass rushes or great pass rushes. The next 2 games for this team, 3 games, I should say, the Patriots, the Browns, both on the road, and then the Philadelphia Eagles after that. And that doesn't even include once we start the the playoffs. So I guess my concern is, did we actually get any questions answered here other than this is the best Josh Allen performance that we have seen from the past month from this team?
Well, you're not going to solve the wide receiver question. I will say that. At some point, though, Josh Allen's playing so well that you can only question it so much with all the other AFC teams having warts. Like once we get to the teams that are for sure making the playoffs, like we don't know if the Chiefs will, we don't know what the Colts will. Obviously, it's gonna be a big part of the show. The Patriots and the Bills are by far the 2 most high scoring teams in the AFC. And Buffalo Bills just hung 39, and they've done this before. So I still think they have a path to like really make some noise out there, but Josh Allen has to play like this. Like the rest, like the defense is pretty mediocre. The wide receivers are very mediocre. So Josh Allen has to play like an MVP candidate for them to matter. The good news is more times than not, he has been.
Okay. What about on the Bengals end? Because we talked about James Cook's 2 turnovers. I know Joe Burrow had back-to-back interceptions and some fumbles. I don't want to lead with this question, but I will anyways. Because, he had 284 yards and 4 touchdowns, and T. Higgins had a monster game. Was there some small hands factor here?
I mean, maybe. I don't think for most of the game, Joe Burrow was fantastic, and he was actually like moving around the pocket, so it wasn't really like a toe issue at all. He was making a bunch of plays to T. Higgins, like that was like kind of the guy that was moving the ball for the most of the game. T. Higgins, by the way, was in and out of concussion tests like 4 or 5 times. He hit his head so hard multiple times, and then every single time I would tweet he's in the injury tent, the next time I would tweet about him was he was in the end zone. So it was just one of those games for T. Higgins. I will say those 2 interceptions. The first one, Christian Benford, who is awesome, did a very good job against Jamar Chase. He was showing some pressure. Joe Burrow on a one step drop back was trying to like launch it over him quickly to Jamar Chase. That goes for a pick 6. That was a fantastic play by him. Maybe you can sell me on the tiny hands on that play. And then the other interception was directly after that. He's going to throw the ball to Jamar Chase. Defensive tackle bats it away, and that goes to an interception. Aside from that, Joe Burrow was absolutely nails. His touchdown to Chase Brown was out of structure. That was on the money, kind of sliding grab into the end zone. I thought he looked fantastic. Mike Gesicki, while T. Higgins was in the tent, here he comes. Yep. He's wide open in the end zone. I don't understand how that works.
He's a weapon when T. Higgins isn't on the field.
He like literally is T. Higgins himself. So that was cool to see. It was just wild. Like Jamar Chase was very, very quiet in this one. 5 for 44 scoreless. I think that is the best thing about the Buffalo Bills, aside from Josh Allen. They have really, really slowed down opposing wide receivers. They just have better depth at corner. I think the part of the reason why is their ground game has been really bad. So a lot of teams have been deciding to run it. That was not the Bengals in this one. I just think that Benford's a really good player, and he did an excellent job against Jamar Chase. But T. Higgins was dunking on dudes relentlessly. And I thought it was just a really disappointing end to the Joe Burrow game here, because those were like pretty much back-to-back interceptions. And aside from that, he was excellent. And now the Bengals, they have to like completely win out to even have a chance at this point. So this is a game that they easily could have won, and that would have made their playoff hopes a lot more realistic. At this point, they're just going to be playing for fantasy points.
Yeah, I feel like we know where the Bills seeding is going to be, and it's going to be that 5 seed after the 4 division leaders, and they get the 5th one, only a 10% chance of winning that division. As you said, the Cincinnati Bengals all the way down at 3%. This is a fantasy program, so we need to talk about the fantasy players. Chase Brown,
Mhm.
15 touches for 38 yards, but it doesn't matter because he got 2 touchdowns out of it.
2 touchdowns. He got a 5-yard rushing score.
Which equals 120 yards, just for everyone's math out there.
For sure. I mean, look at his longest run was the 5-yard touchdown. So he had 12 carries. His longest run was 5 yards. This is against the Buffalo Bills. Like, that's not a good thing. I will say this. This is something that the broadcast kept mentioning was in the snow, it's harder for offensive linemen to have the leverage to run block because like you actually have to move somebody and your feet kind of slide out. So it's hard to like move. And in pass protection, it's the opposite where the defensive linemen have to kind of use their lower legs to kind of bulldoze around. So both teams pass the ball plenty in this one. So there's a little bit of a difference maybe between snow in the rain where like the slickness of the snow makes it a little bit harder to run block. So the Bengals kind of gave that away, but Chase Brown 2 red zone touchdowns in this one. By the way, Samaje Perine had like a lot of like quality moments throughout the game and the broadcasts seemed to love him.
Okay. Let's fly over the AFC South because we had a sweeping, I would say 2 performances, 2 moments from this one that really defined probably this division the rest of the way. Tale of 2 quarterbacks. First, let's start with the winning team, the Jacksonville Jaguars posting 36 points and the Colts just 19. They're 9-4 on the season now. This is one of the best games Trevor Lawrence has played, flat out. I'm just going to recite some amazing throws that he did, and I can't wait for you to watch him tomorrow. 39-yard sideline dagger to Brian Thomas, who caught it with one hand. 14-yard touchdown to Jacoby Myers on this very cool timing, like delayed route by Liam Cohen, where it synced up with the swing pass. So the underneath defender drove on that, and then boom, to the back right corner. A double move to Tim Patrick on 3rd and 15.
Ayo.
Then a 3rd and goal, 15 seconds left to go in the first half. Trevor, no timeouts remaining, cannot take a sack. He extends the play. He climbs at the pocket. Beautiful pass on probably his 4th or even 0 read to Tim Patrick for a touchdown. Then a beautiful seam ball to Brian Thomas Jr. for 30 yards. And then the biggest throw of the day. I mean, Lou Anarumo in the second half set an unblocked corner blitz. Trevor Lawrence recognizes it, rolls to his left around it, and at full speed, at full stretch, hits Tim Patrick for another big chunk gain. So he was so dialed in despite the massive downpour that hit from the second quarter to the third quarter and to the fourth quarter. On the opposite end, despite starting 7-1 on the season, the Colts' year is officially over. Daniel Jones opened with an interception on the very first throw of the game, then had a nice touchdown to follow that up. But shortly after that, 3rd and 8, he drops back. Jaguars create a bunch of chaos and pressure up front, so he kind of retreats in the pocket. And as he throws, his right foot / right ankle just gives out. He tries to get up. He walks for a few steps. Then he sits, slams his helmet down multiple times, and he knows it's serious. And since then, we've learned it is a torn Achilles. So again, what a change. 7-1 to open the year. The Colts have now just won 1-4 in their last 5 games. And also traded away their first round pick because they were all in on Daniel Jones, not just this season, but next season. And then it just shows how quickly plans can change in the NFL, and your future can as well.
Yeah, brutal spot for Daniel Jones. Just free agencies coming for him here. I went back. Kirk Cousins was like kind of like the closest comp for this. He still signed $100 million contract, but he just did not look the same. And apparently, like if it's your right Achilles tendon, that's where you're going to be driving off for a right-handed quarterback like Daniel Jones. So like we're going to be questioning if he's going to be ready for week 1 on top of just like it's such an certain injury long term.
By the way, his leg fracture that he was playing on was to his left leg. Mm-hmm. So it's injuries to both legs at this moment, and previous injuries in the past here for Daniel Jones. I mean, this team was so high flying early on this year, and like, this is what we get. And this is what it's going to come down to. Apparently the locker room was just totally dejected after the game. I completely understand it. Riley Leonard was their backup quarterback here.
How'd he look?
Not awful.
Okay.
Not awful.
Okay.
Passable. Let's put it that way. In fact, his 2 best throws didn't even count because of offensive penalties. He threw an incredible back shoulder touchdown to Michael Pittman Jr., and they called it the softest ass offensive pass interference you'll see all season. I feel like OPI is becoming a bit more of a flag in the league right now. But this one was like so ticky-tacky.
Dang. Okay.
There were some other, I thought, pretty egregious calls from this referee crew. There was another interception that Riley Leonard threw that was a true 50-50 ball. Both the corner and wide receiver called it. But in those 50-50 moments, you're supposed to give it to the offense. Gene's territory went on. J.J. Watt said the exact same thing. By the way, Hall of Fame defensive player. And yet they still stuck with it being a defensive interception. And it just shows, like, I don't understand what New York can and will call into.
We'll get to that later. Yes. There's another one.
But yeah, Jonathan Taylor gets in early for a touchdown. But other than that, this team is just kind of stifled up front. And Alec Pierce was also this close to having a spectacular touchdown grab deep into the fourth quarter, gets 2 toes in, but falls on the ball, and then it pops up in the air. But he does finish the day 5 for 80 on 8 targets. Michael Pittman 9 for 79 on 12 targets. And then Tyler Warren down at 2 for 15 on 6 targets.
You guys might be like wondering, where's Anthony Richardson? Remember, he got drilled by that the band work, and he had surgery. And like the latest report from The Athletic is like they saw his face and they're like, just don't expect him to be coming back anytime soon. So it's probably going to be
he must
Riley
have fractured
Leonard.
His face.
Yes, yeah, I think he had surgery in the whole thing. So it's going to be Riley Leonard the rest of the way. So that just pretty much eliminates him now. Like you said, the Sauce Gardner trade we talked about is a super boom bust trade. Trading for corners already is like very boom bust. He goes down with a calf injury, and like now we don't know about this next season. So I'm assuming that they're going to bring Daniel Jones back. It's probably not going to be as long term of a commitment, and they're just going to be rolling the dice next year with Sauce Gardner without first round picks, and then Daniel Jones coming off a torn Achilles, assuming that they want him back here. And on top of that, a waste of a actually very promising 2025 season. So feel terrible for Colts fans. And like even like Alec Pierce, he's a free agent. So you're gonna have to be moving on from some pretty serious players this offseason.
Let's talk about some Jaguars guys. This is the best Brian Thomas Jr. arguably we've seen all season long.
Okay.
6 targets. Now, you'll see a completion percentage or completion rate for Trevor Lawrence, 17 to 30. A lot of that factor was the weather. Like by the time the second quarter started, no skill players were wearing gloves. It was that bad, and the balls were soaking wet. It was just miserable. So some, misplaced passes because of that, or some clanging off hands, all that type of stuff. But BTJ was being hit on these vertical routes. It still wasn't the underneath screen crossing route type stuff, but they were attacking some soft areas in zone and some really nice layered throws on top of it. And he made difficult catches, whereas earlier this year, he wasn't making those difficult catches.
Yeah, I think all the skill guys make more sense grouped together the way that they have it right now. And I thought it was cool. The big slot fade to Brian Thomas, that is just like a good use of his skill set. We saw that at the LSU offense a lot, and it just seems like we haven't seen that quite as much this year. So yeah, excited. Like the Jaguars, I think, are 5th in the AFC in scoring. They have obviously just hung 36 here. So when Trevor Lawrence is like hitting these downfield shots, like you can put up some serious production. Also want to ask about Bashal Tutin. He had a concussion early, or was it a split this wide? Give me the update there.
No, so Bashal Tutin on the second kickoff return was down for like a really long time, gets a concussion test, and then I guess is somewhat cleared, but then comes in for just 2 offensive plays and then never is seen from again. So I'm not sure if it was something with the head injury or the concussion, because basically no other running back touched the football other than Travis Etienne. And then I also don't think Bashal Tutin played a single special team snap after that at the exact same point.
Interesting.
So I also wanted to bring up Jacoby Myers, who also caught a touchdown here. He nearly had a big catch in the first quarter. It was a sick sideline grab, but he just kind of elevated a bit too much and was pushed out of bounds on top of it. Like you said, I mean, the Jaguars are, fate in their own hands when it comes to the AFC South. And coming up for them is the New York Jets next week, then the Broncos and the Colts, and they close out with the Titans. So 2 of the worst organizations over their next 4 games. The Jacksonville Jaguars get on the docket.
Yeah, they can easily win 12 games this year in the first year with Liam Cohen. And I'll say, like, the offense has been up and down to win 12 games. Like, that is just a sign of what growth they have long term here.
Final point, Trayvon Walker returned in this one, and he stuffed Jonathan Taylor on a 4th and 1 to turn over the ball on downs earlier too. So he even made his presence felt. And yeah, when the Jaguars defense is forcing turnovers, like the
Yep.
Devin Lloyd INT on the first snap. They got a couple of others on top of it. They punched the football out for Jonathan Taylor as he was reaching it too. This can be a really dangerous team because once you get forced into passing situations, one, they've got big bodies up front that they can stuff the run, and two, it's Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen and a few others to cause some havoc. So Jaguars are sneaky fun, despite not having Travis Hunter to make it even more fun.
It's a lot more fun without him because we're not as frustrated.
Should we go to the AFC North?
I guess.
Okay. The Pittsburgh Steelers, after myself and everyone called for Mike Tomlin's job after being the coach of the Steelers for 17 presidencies, obviously has a big Mike Tomlin spot.
Of course.
When the doubters are vocal, he returns the favor. 27-22 on the road win in Baltimore. Yeah, the Steelers are 7-6. The Ravens are 6-7. What the hell happened here?
Rodgers was so deep into his bag. I mean, you wonder like
He's been so miserable.
Dude, this game was so good by Rodgers. Like it was the first quarter and he had already tallied a 52-yard go ball to DK Metcalf one-on-one against Marlon Humphrey, just beat him over the top. And Rodgers, I mean, it was perfectly put into the bucket. And then later on, Rodgers, out of structure, scramble touchdown. I mean, scramble touchdown,
what are we doing
go
here?
ball down the field, right on the money. So Rodgers was fantastic in this one. It was definitely the best game as a Steeler. There was maybe a game or two like at the very end of the Jets' career where I thought he was playing really good football. This was as good as that, if not as good as it's been since he's left the Green Bay Packers. Like that was the reality of this game. I'm not saying this is what it will be moving forward, but how do they pull this one off? Rodgers was an animal. DK Metcalf was a total problem. There was back shoulder plays to DK Metcalf. You had like a big route over the middle, big crossing route yards after the catch wise, but it's still a lot of big perimeter shots and taking his chances. But yeah, it was a lot of vintage Aaron Rodgers stuff out of nowhere.
These stats don't make any sense. Okay. So first, DK Metcalf, 7 catches on 12 targets, 148 yards. If you go back to, let's say, October 16th, 3 for 50, 5 for 55, 2 for 6, 3 for 35, 5 for 49, 5 for 22, 3 for 32. And yeah, so of course we should be able to predict a 7 for 148 game. Now, let me do the same thing for Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Since November 9th, a 25-10 loss to the Chargers, 16 of 31 for 161 yards, 2 interceptions and a sack. Then he gets hurt against the Cincinnati Bengals, but that's 116 yards. Last week in a demolishing loss to the Buffalo Bills, 10 for 21 for 117. So of course, against arguably the best defense of the bunch in the Baltimore Ravens, he goes 23 of 34 for 284 and a score.
Well, I do want to mention this Ravens defense because it's a good defense. It is not the same defense that it was the last couple seasons when like McDonald was there and like everything was absolutely firing. Like for example, like Marlon Humphrey, there's just been more times Marlon Humphrey on an island is just getting ripped apart down the field. And that's what happened with the DK Metcalf stuff. He used to be a pro caliber player. He's just not that. They still don't have a legitimate pass rush right now. There's still some communication concerns. Like at one point they brought a big blitz and Jaylen Warren was left wide open. So Jaylen Warren had a 38-yard untouched touchdown out in the flats, where, by the way, also on that play, Pat Freiermuth was running the seam. Nobody was around him. So the Ravens had left 2 wide open touchdown opportunities for Aaron Rodgers. So like this Ravens defense has a lot of names. I would question how many of the names live up to their name. I think like Kyle Hamilton does. The rest of the group, it's just been like pretty up and down. So obviously a lot of credit to just DK Metcalf and Rodgers like making a lot of plays, but this is like not the standout Baltimore Ravens team. And with the way Lamar Jackson's playing, when he's not playing like an MVP level player, then you're kind of playing like a 6-7 team. So vintage Tomlin stuff here to win on the road. The Ravens have their work cut out for them. These two teams are going to play once again in week 18. If the Steelers beat the Ravens in that one, it's pretty much over, like no matter what. So they have to win that one, Baltimore. And they also are going to have to beat some really quality teams before they get there as well. So a lot of pressure on Baltimore, and we'll get to their offense in a second.
They're 31% to make the playoffs right now, Baltimore.
It feels like that. It should be.
Yeah. So they have the Bengals next, Patriots, Packers. But like you said, the big game is week 18 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you beat, and I'll just do it in the playoff simulator right now. If you beat the Bengals and then you beat the Steelers at the end, that's a 79% chance of making.
You have to pretty much win 2 of the 3 and then beat the Steelers. That's their pathway. Yep. That is easier said than done with how Lamar has looked and how the Ravens been so inconsistent on defense.
So how did he look? Because I see 19 of 35, 219, 1 score, 1 interception, 2 sacks taken. I see 7 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown. I see even Zay Flowers go 8 for 124.
Yep.
But then just 22 points on the scoreboard.
I will say Lamar Jackson might not be fully healthy, but he is healthy. There was multiple instances where he was taking off as a scrambler and actually looked like he had some pop. His rushing touchdown, you'll see he has a little bit of juice. Even some of the times where he's just picking up 6 yards, 7 yards, you can feel the juice athletically for him. I will say he does not have the same exact feel that he had last year where I thought he was the best quarterback in the world. He does not look like he's anywhere near that right now. There's just been too many missed plays. His interception gets out of the pocket, out of structure, goes to throw a touch and just leaves it short for an interception. I believe like his cousin or something, Pierre, somehow cousins with Lamar Jackson. So that was kind of a weird little thing. Zay Flowers 8 here, 8 for 124. Of course, that goes scoreless. Isaiah Likely has a touchdown, but the big play here, which everybody was up in arms about, was just the Isaiah Likely. Is it a touchdown? Is it not? He's working in the end zone, catches the ball. He knows the defender's behind him, so he leaves his arms out, gets 1 foot in, another foot in, but he keeps his arms out like that. And just in order for it to be a catch, you also have to make a football move. By the time he doesn't make a football move, the defender punches it out. My question to you, Josh, why a football move in the end zone? Where are you moving to? You're already in the end zone. Isn't the point to get into the end zone? You catch the ball, you have 2 feet in. And also, is a football move extending your arms out away from the defender like this? Is that a football move? We're in this gray area that ended up costing the Baltimore Ravens. Now, like, they didn't deserve to win this game.
Maybe the playoffs.
Quarter to quarter. But like, this was one of these things where this gray area in the end zone, you have to make a football move for what? Like, you have to like shake them up. You're already in the end zone. You move where?
So Gene Steratore is on Twitter, and I'll send you this tweet so you can put it in the edit. He made a checklist of what a catch is. Okay. So 1, to have completed pass, the receiver must 1, secure the control of the ball. Check mark. 2, have both feet or a body part other than the hands in bounds. Check mark. 3, perform a football move, i.e. take a third step, tuck the ball away, turn up field, avoid/ward off an opponent, or to maintain control of the ball long enough to do so. I guess my concern is, or my question, tuck the ball away. Why would we want to bring the football closer to the DB that is punching it away? Why isn't it better and more of a football move to push it away? Because if he takes 2 steps and the ball is tucked away, would that have been a catch? Just because the ball is not tucked away and it's further away, then that's not a football move? I guess that's my big question reading this checklist.
I agree. You and I today, just in the middle of the kitchen making coffee, did not all of a sudden stick our arms out like this. The only people
do everything
doing that,
from now on like this.
Like this. The
Instead
only
of
people
closer
doing
to my body. Because this is purposeful.
Player. Yes, like that to me was a football. And also just like I get it like in the middle of the field because you have like fumbles and weird like oddities like that. In the end zone, to me, is a little bit different. Like there's no need to be moving upfield. Like upfield where you've already hit the goal. So that was a frustrating moment for the Ravens. Another frustrating moment, if we just want to go on a little refs tirade real quick. The Ravens were trying to block a field goal from like the 20-yard line or something like that. And their defensive tackle, he knows you're not supposed to hit the long snapper, hits the guard who kind of shoves him into the long snapper, and there's a collision. The refs throw a flag immediately after Kenny Gainwell is in the end zone. That was a 4-point play, which would have mattered. I know the scoreboard was more than 4 points, but the way that the game was playing out, it definitely did matter. Harbaugh was losing his mind. There was multiple times where Harbaugh was absolutely losing his mind at the refs. I thought there was a couple instances where he deserved to be really mad, but still, like zooming back out, this is not the same Baltimore Ravens team that was Super Bowl contenders in the past. Their defense is suspect. Lamar's not feeling himself right now. That there's something wrong with the offense. At one point, the sideline reporter quoted the guard saying that the Steelers know what's coming every single time. That was like the sideline report. And Lamar was throwing his helmet and stuff. So there's ickiness going on with Baltimore. So maybe we had the wrong coach in this game kind of circled of what's feeling stagnant about the franchise.
We will not perpetuate, let's say, the Reddit post of maybe a former love interest on one of the players. But if you all want to Google search
do your own research,
suspected Reddit post out there, things are not rosy behind the scenes of the Baltimore Ravens. Two questions here. First one, Keaton Mitchell, 6 for 76. Derrick Henry, 25 of 94. Takeaways.
Keaton Mitchell got open for a 55-yarder. I thought he was going to get housed. He kind of got hawked a little bit. Later in the game, Keaton Mitchell walks to the locker room. It's a knee injury. He was ruled out. So I don't know the status of it, but this is just the same player with these humongous knee injuries. But he looked really fast in that one. He's been a very good changeup for him. Only plays a couple snaps, and that was true once again. Derrick Henry ran hard the whole time. I think with Derrick Henry, his long speed in a straight line feels just about as good as it was. There was a couple times in this one, you'll see it when he kind of gets to the edge and it just takes a little bit longer to kind of turn that big body than it did before. And I think that's where you're kind of seeing some of the differences on the success rate and stuff. So there's like some like these perimeter runs that they used to hit. I feel like he's just been a slightly less agile this year, which would make sense for things to go first is like a big boy that was 6'3", 6'4". That's going to go first before the explosiveness in a straight line. I'm sure he can still squat a bajillion pounds, but the agility just feels a little bit worse right now.
Also want to check in with Adam Thielen, who apparently, quote, got his love for the game back off of just one catch for 4 yards. Quote, it was crazy. It's been a wild week. I found my love for the game back just being out there playing the game I love. Just so thankful to be out there and thrown into a huge game and rivalry off of one catch for 4 yards.
I forgot he was even on the team. Let's see how many routes he ran. It couldn't have been very many. Yeah, Adam Thielen ran 12 routes.
Yeah, but love the game back. He got it.
Love the game. He must actually really love the game. Oh my god.
Okay, let's do NFC West corner. Okay.
All right.
These games were not close because the Seahawks and Rams are very good football teams. Let's start in Atlanta as Seattle goes to play the Falcons and demolishes them 37-9. Now you read 37-9 and you would think this is a 4-quarter thrashing. That is not the case. I mean, at halftime, it's tied 6-6. Sam Darnold opens 0 for 5 on 10+ yard throws, 9 of 15 for 67 yards, 1 INT and 2 sacks. But immediately in the second half, the doors are blown off by special teams and really defense. So kickoff out of half, Rashid Shaheed takes that 100 yards to the house, untouched, full strides. He's gone. Falcons get down to the red zone on their next series to hopefully answer with their own touchdown. 3rd and 1, Bijan Robinson fumbles. It's actually Jaron Reed in his first game back from injury to punch it out inside of the red zone. By the way, over the last handful of weeks, the Atlanta Falcons had apparently been 14 of 15 in red zone touchdown conversions, 13 of 14. Today they opened 0 for 3. And these turnovers were a big part of that. So right after that, Seahawks passing game clicks. 30-yard JSN crossing route catch versus AJ Terrell, bodied him up. Then 2 plays later, 28-yard JSN in-breaker versus AJ Terrell, touchdown. Nick Emmanwori, massive athlete, big body, nickel driving chess piece that Mike McDonald has. Interception on the next series after a tip pass by Devon Witherspoon on Kyle Pitts. Emmanwori also had a blocked field goal in the game. And so Cooper Kupp and JSN close it out with touchdowns of their own. And on the Falcons end, there's really nothing to say. I mean, Bijan, albeit had some really nice plays, was stuffed for 86 yards on 20 carries. And then Kyle Pitts had some really nice moments early on, including a laid out extended grab against the aforementioned Emmanwori. But man, when you're throwing like 3rd downs, got to have it 3rd and 3s to David Sills, it's just not going to work out there, you know? So that's how the Falcons, 9 points, still giving up a top 10 pick to the LA Rams. James Pierce did have his 5th sack in 5 games, which is a really nice record, I think, to tie with Micah Parsons, who was the last rookie to do that. But again, that only gets you 9 points on offense.
Yeah. My big question for this game was Sam Darnold against a funky defense, because the Falcons do have one of these funky defenses. They'll change the picture post snap. They'll bring a lot of pressure. Was there any moments that Sam Darnold felt panicky? Like, what? Explain that first half, and then some of the explosives down the field later on the game. Like, how much of that was just like funkiness from the Falcons, or just Sam Darnold just weirdness?
Yeah, first series was really bad. I mean, the first 3 plays they got negative 10 yards. Threw a pass to Ken Walker on second down, short because everything he felt like was covered down the field. And then he takes a sack on 3rd and 12 at his own 9-yard line to get it down to the 1-yard line. Then there was 2 series later after a long field goal drive on interception play where he's, I believe, rolling out to, it's either his right or his left. I can't remember which one. And it's AJ Terrell on Elijah Arroyo. And he tries to fit this pass in to that tight coverage, and it's thrown directly to AJ Terrell, who bats it in the air, and then a defensive player picks it off, and then they go 3 and out immediately after that on just 2 yards. So, yeah, I mean, there were some rough moments in the first half, but once we got to the second half, it was like wide open spaces for everyone. Yeah. It went touchdown return, then touchdown, 8 plays, 88 yards, then field goal, then touchdown, and then a meaningless punt, which I'm not even sure if Sam Darnold was in the game at that point.
Yeah, I mean, they're 3rd in scoring in their conference, and then they just hung up 37 points. So it's just one of these teams that is always moving the ball until we get just a Sam Darnold half that happens. So I really want to keep studying these halves, because if there's a trend there, that's going to be problematic for the playoffs. But if you can kind of figure that out, the rest of the entire season has been completely lights out. And like JSN was running wide open multiple times in this one. And I thought when I saw Rashid Shaheed in the corner of my eye, wide open, I thought that they had finally connected on offense. And I saw we got a special teamer.
Shaheed did have a nice 33-yard crossing route in the second half. But again, Cooper Kupp, 35 and 1 score. And then JSN just went off for 92 and 2. You would think if a team scores 37 points that the running game will get going. Not really. Zach Charbonnet had a long run of 27, which really helped his 46 yards and 7 carries. Ken Walker, 29 yards on 10 carries. You'll see he has a bunch of missed tackles forced and some really cool edge runs, but just nowhere to run up the middle. And then, he was in at like the 4-yard line on 1st and 10, and they ran a play action pass. And then the next 2 plays, Zach Charbonnet was in and got stuffed on both of them. And then Velus Jones gets like the entire 4th quarter.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does that say Velus Jones?
Yes, it does. Velus Jones got the entire 4th quarter.
Wow. So, okay.
Yep. Running game still confusing and frustrating for fantasy football. I'll quickly talk about the Los Angeles Rams and the Arizona Cardinals, because I wish this was the last time we ever had to speak about the Arizona Cardinals. It was that bad. Let me find my notes.
Not for the guys I care about.
Rams opening 5 series of this game. Long field goal drive. Touchdown drive, 74 yards, Blake Corum rushing score. Touchdown drive, 65 yards, Kyron Williams rushing score at the end. Touchdown drive, that was 92 yards, Puka Nacua, touchdown. Touchdown drive, that was 74 yards, Kobe Parkinson, touchdown. The O-line was creating so many creases in the running game. They could have easily rushed. And I was about to say they could have easily rushed for 300 yards. Well, they did. They rushed for 249.
Yeah, exactly. That's wild.
Puka Nacua made incredible catches over the middle of the field. There was one that was a pitch that looked like it was traveling 200 miles per hour by Matthew Stafford. He one hand stabs it, bumps it to himself, grab, and then another one that was along the sideline, just lofted up with perfect touch on top of it. And Puka twists his body, spins, and then brings it down. Just simply sensational in that. Ollie Connolly noted that Matthew Stafford on 10 yards throw pluses against this Cardinals team. 8 of 11, 174, 3 scores, a completion percentage over expectation of 56%.
I mean, when this team's rolling, man, it is a beauty.
The best way to phrase it is if the Rams just drop back every time in this game, they could have won. If they even said, hey, Cardinals, we're not going to run the ball ever in this one, they still would have won. If they said, hey, Cardinals, we're just going to run the ball every down, they still would have won it. I mean, this Cardinals defense was so pathetic.
Yeah, they're missing like Walter Nolan stuff, but we needed to play a little bit better than this. Like even like Ronnie Rivers 8 for 41 as like the third guy, which is just like absurd.
The opening 5 series, 31 points. The team had 23 first downs, and the Cardinals only forced them into facing 2 third downs. It wasn't like, oh, we have great conversion rate in third and fourth downs. They never even had to get to third and fourth downs.
The Rams were so good on offense that Puka Nacua scored touchdowns. 2 of them. Yeah. that good.
By the way, Devontae Adams on back-to-back plays on an early, I guess it was a field goal drive, was targeted in the end zone. Matthew Stafford just missed him on one of them, and the other one he caught, and he was out of the back of the end zone. So that's why he only goes for 4 for 29. Blake Corum, 2 scores. Let's go.
We needed
on
that.
The first series and one of the last ones. Like I mentioned, he was so good. The 48-yarder, he just like broke away from the line of scrimmage and ran it towards the end. He's just, I want people to keep in mind, this is a series by series operation between he and Kyron Williams when they have neutral or positive game scripts. I still think that when they're losing, when they're trailing, Sean McVay will side a bit more to his guy in Kyron Williams. But in these environments, Blake Corum is an extremely good asset for all of us.
Just looking at the Rams, they've scored 35, 34, 42, 21 against the Seahawks, 34. They scored 28 points in the Panthers loss, and they turned the ball over 4 times in that one. And then they've hung up 45 points. So if you plan on beating the Rams this year in the playoffs, be prepared to score 30 plus because you're not stopping this team, it looks like.
Yep. It really is that simple. Okay, let's talk about the Cardinals. They once again dropped back 47 times or more with Jacoby Brissett. Maybe it was 50 plus times. He goes 25 of 44 for 271 and 2 scores and 1 INT. Michael Wilson, okay? In 3 games without Marvin Harrison Jr. A few weeks ago, 15 catches for 185, then 10 catches for 118, and then today, 11 catches for 142 yards and 2 scores on 16 targets.
That's delicious. I mean, I love the kid so much. There really is like no clear flaw to his game to me. Like he is just all reliable. The one that was just like a big back shoulder touchdown to him. I thought that was a pretty awesome play.
Yep.
But yeah, he really
had a
is
sweet
good.
Slant route on like 3rd and 5 that he just beats his man and put the ball in the bottom of the end of the break and adds a few more yards after the catch. Again, he's not the most dynamic player out there, but he is extremely well-rounded and can play on the boundary. They can move him inside a little bit if they want to. And he and Jacoby are just on the same page. Mm-hmm. And that is so important and prevalent. And when you drop back 50 plus times, it's basically impossible when the offense is condensed down to 2 people on he and Trey McBride. And unfortunately, McBride just didn't get there. But he does extend his streak of at least 5 catches in 15 straight games, which I believe ties Travis Kelce for that record.
Curious. Yeah. Kelce and McBride. There's a lot of little overlap between those 2 dudes.
So, yeah, I mean, the Rams are 10-3 right now. The Seattle Seahawks are just behind them at also 10-3. The Rams are very much favored to win the NFC West, though, at 59%. The Seahawks, that's at 29%. Both are obviously making the playoffs here. We can have this conversation. I feel like we have all the time about the Arizona Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon, other than being a CEO type head coach, is supposed to be a defensive minded coach. You know, he's DC for the Philadelphia Eagles. I understand that they're missing a bunch of defensive pieces, including their 1st round pick and Walter Nolan, and they've had some other issues, but I mean, this was the most pitiful defense you have seen. And they have given up 41 points to their NFC West foe in the 49ers. They've given up 45 points here to the Los Angeles Rams, 44 points, albeit some of that was with their offense to the, again, Seattle Seahawks. So if this was another organization, I don't know how Jonathan Gannon would necessarily survive when the rest of your teams are so far ahead of you in your division. But if it's Mike Bidwell, who I believe is still paying Cliff Kingsbury and now paying Jonathan Gannon, I don't think he is the type of owner that wants to pay a 3rd head coach to come in here. So I would still expect JG to be in charge of this team in 2026.
Yeah, the defense in terms of yards per play, it's been 29th, 25th, and this year they're at 20th before this game where the Rams average about 7 or 8 yards per play. So they've been bottom 10, bottom 12 all 3 seasons. So, I mean, they were starting with absolutely nothing, like to give a little bit of context, but not enough. You can't be 3-10.
Segment 2, we lead it off with the Tankathon Bowl with quarterbacks that have been diced, picked apart, scrutinized, and they combine, despite the lowest total of the season, for 60 points as the Tennessee Titans on the road against the Cleveland Browns beat that team 31-29. Brentley Weissman, I'll just read these quarterback stats to you, and I want to hear about their performances. Cam Ward, 14 of 28, 117, 2 scores, 1 INT. On the opposite end, Shedeur Sanders, 23 of 42, 364, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 sacks. How'd it look?
Yeah, I mean, the very kind of highly anticipated quarterback matchup we've all been waiting for. It was really entertaining, guys. I had a lot of fun watching this game. I'll start with Cam Ward. I know I came on the show last week and I was kind of telling you guys how disappointed I was with his performance last week. I did think he played better today. I thought he was more efficient with the football. He had 1 bad interception, but for the most part, I thought he took good care of the football. He had a really good touchdown in the first quarter on their first drive to Elick Ailmaner, where you see the kind of craftiness in the pocket. He's evading pressure. Really good footwork to extend the play and deliver an accurate pass. But then again, there were just kind of too many misses. He had a really, really bad miss on a huge third down to DK. Missed him by 5 yards. Those are throws you really need to see him hit. But I did think overall it was much more positive than last week. So I thought it was a step in the right direction. But I thought he was thoroughly outplayed by Shedeur Sanders today. I thought Shedeur was, he was fantastic. He had 1 bad interception. But before that interception, guys, if you go back and watch the game later this week, he had a gorgeous throw down the sideline to Fannin Jr., who, by the way, is just an absolute star in the making. But I thought Shedeur was very poised, made good decisions, took good care of the football for the most part. But more than anything, he was aggressive. He's aggressive, attacking the middle of the field, threw the ball with accuracy and timing. And I just thought he made plays. And look, I know the Titans defense isn't anything to write home about, but he made plays, delivered the ball to his playmakers, and use his legs as well to keep plays alive and extend plays. And I just thought it was a really, really positive performance. I'm not ready to sit here and say he's going to be the Browns quarterback of next year or anything like that, but the Browns have to be feeling good about his performance today. And again, not quite sure what took so long to get him in the lineup, but it was a really strong outing for Shedeur Sanders.
Well, it's all but confirmed he's going to be the starter for the rest of the season. I'm excited to see how this thing develops. I think showing some flashes of athleticism with the rushing touchdown was definitely a good sign. And you said it. He was so hesitant. I thought that he was always taking more of the check down underneath route before this one. I haven't watched this game, but you said more aggressive throws down the field. I always thought that he had fine enough accuracy and arm talent. It was just he was so conservative in his decision making. So hopefully he kind of continues this path forward, because more downfield shots from Shedeur Sanders would open up a ceiling that the Browns have not had in a very long time.
And Brentley, I would say the other concern in his game was if he retreated, negative things happened the vast majority of time. But if he, either stood still in the pocket or climbed up, then there was more of a platform for positivity there. Next Gen Stats read this out, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Shedeur Sanders averaged 3.57 seconds to throw in this game. That's the second longest by a quarterback in a game this season. 3.5 seconds
That's forever.
Is extremely rare. And extremely rare, I would say, for a quarterback of Shedeur Sanders' athleticism. Typically, it's with some of the best athletes at the position. Now, that 3.7 seconds ended in fantastic production. So was he just excellent at evading pressure in this game?
I'd say yes and no. I think a lot of it, the Titans don't get a lot of pressure generally with their front four. So I think he had a lot of time to pass or to find receivers in the pocket. It's funny you say that, Josh, because on his interception, it was vintage Shedeur fading back, kind of just the things that gets himself in trouble. It was literally picturesque of his negative plays on that pick. But I did think, he was able to evade the pressure with his legs, keep plays alive. But I think more than anything, the Titans just kind of failed to really generate too much pressure throughout the game.
Okay, another question here. He had a beautiful potential game-tying touchdown to Harold Fannin in the back left corner of the end zone. Fannin is the team's leading receiver with 8 catches for 114. I'm assuming David Njoku left after his 1 catch for 1 score earlier on. The 2-point conversion is what we saw over the previous weeks with Quinshon Judkins in Wildcat. They basically try to run a reverse, and he either doesn't pitch it or the other guy doesn't get ready for it. Anyways, Brentley, was Josina right?
I saw both of your guys' tweets, man. I think the Shedeur Sanders fan club has every reason to be pissed after this, man. Like, Shedeur.
It makes for great headlines all week. I mean, this is perfect.
It really does.
This is what we want for the worst teams in the league.
It really does. Shedeur leads a beautiful, potentially game-winning or game-tying drive. And what does Stefanski do? They take Shedeur out of the lineup on the 2-point conversion. And the Browns had no idea what the hell they're doing. Quinshon Judkins had no idea if he was supposed to hand the ball off, keep the ball. The receivers looking at Quinshon like, what the hell did you just do? It was a disaster. It was really a disaster. And, the Titans defense isn't some stonewall unit where you got to get cute, like call a normal plays. Like, Shedeur is delivering accurate passes. Quinshon is a good running back. He didn't have the best day today, but hand him the ball off, don't get that cute. Really bummer way to lose. I was hoping for overtime. But yeah, man, Stefanski, I'm not sure what we're doing there.
Well, I will say this. If ownership was on Team Shedeur, and that's why they drafted him in the 5th round, and Stefanski's doing this nonsense, we can see like a potential change stemming from this one. So we'll see if Josina can call the Browns front office and make a move eventually.
Other part, Quinshon stuffed for 26 yards on 14 carries. Did have a long reception of 58 yards to kind of save his day. The big headline I have to ask about is the running game on the opposite end. This has been something that's been horrific all season long. Tony Pollard, an unusable fantasy asset. So of course, when their offensive line is depleted against one of the best defensive lines and overall defenses in the league on the road, Tony Pollard goes 25 carries for 161 yards and 2 scores. This is peak fantasy football madness.
Yeah, I think it was his career career high in rushing yards. I mean, Tony Pollard, this is vintage Tony Pollard game. Like, you see everything that we all like at Pollard. He put it on display today. He was just crushing outside zone, setting up the blockers patiently, then just putting his foot on the ground, exploding through the hole to get north and south. You saw his ability in the open field, making defenders miss. He was electric, guys. This is like the Tony Pollard in Dallas. It was really fun to see. The Browns defense didn't get off the bus today. Really confusing about that. I thought they would shut down this running game, to your point, that has not been doing anything all year. But the Browns couldn't get a hand on Tony Pollard today. He was fantastic.
It's crazy.
Really, that's the reason why they won. I'd say their ability to run the ball. And this Titans rushing defense is outstanding. I mean, back-to-back weeks shutting down the run. The Jags got nowhere on the ground last week. Quinshon had nothing today going. That's why they won. It was the ability to stop the run and their ability to run the ball.
I just got to quickly say with Harold Fannin, I mean, every single week it's something new with him. His yards after the catch ability is unbelievable. But him just like working down the field and at the catch point this year has just been much better than you would possibly think. He's playing a lot of snaps right now, so we'll see if David Njoku is going to miss a lot of the rest of the season. But right now, Harold Fannin all time is tight end 12 in rookies for fantasy points, and we got 4 games left for him, and he's the only guy that's next to Aaron Hernandez. Round 3 or later. Like, everybody else on that list is 1st and 2nd round picks. So he's a weird profile in the draft, but he looks like an absolute difference-making player out there. So I was curious about like the rest of Harold Fannin's game.
I mean, I can't be more impressed by Harold Fannin Jr. I mean, he's unbelievable. Hayden, you mentioned it. We know what he can do after the catch. His yak ability is outstanding, making defenders miss, breaking tackles. But his ball skills and his ability to win in contest situations is off the charts. I mean, in the end zone today, he mossed the defender for his touchdown. He looks like just a graceful receiver down the sideline, winning vertically against a safety, and against Shador, he puts it gorgeous pass right in his hands. He's just a weapon. You can put him out wide, you can put him in the slot, line him up as a traditional wide with his hand on the ground. He's phenomenal. I mean, honestly, what a tight end class between him, Warren, and Colston Loveland. All three of these guys are stars. And I think Harold Fannin has the opportunity to be one of the best out of the three of them, and he's just remarkable.
He's really
Okay, this has totally changed up the top of the Tankathon standings. If we go to it, the number one overall pick currently goes to the New York Giants at 2-11. The Las Vegas Raiders then at 2-11 are the second overall selection. Then the Tennessee Titans, then the Cleveland Browns, and then we'll talk about the New Orleans Saints a bit later on. The rest of the top 10, Washington Commanders, New York Jets, Arizona Cardinals, the LA Rams in lieu of the Atlanta Falcons, and the Cincinnati Bengals. All those teams have 4 wins or less at this moment. So yeah, I mean, the Titans jump from the first overall pick to the third overall pick.
Yep.
For Mendoza, it sounds like that's the eye of the
He's
draft.
good, man. Mendoza's good.
Okay. Well, if we go from Shorter Sanders, highly criticized, let's go now to J.J. McCarthy being reinstated as the team's starting quarterback in Minnesota and at home pitching a shutout to the Washington Commanders, 31-0. Yes, 31-0. This is Jaden Daniels' return.
Yep.
We'll talk about him in a moment. But 9 on the day, 16 of 23, 163, 3 touchdowns, 4 sacks taken. Was it great, Brentley?
Look, it wasn't great. I'll say this. It wasn't, it didn't move me any direction about JJ McCarthy, but I thought start to finish, it was his most efficient game he's played in the NFL. I thought he looked confident, which is something I was really keen on seeing because, last week was essentially the soft benching. So I thought he came out confident, knew where to go with the football, made good decisions, and really just operated this offense really smoothly. The Commanders' defense, didn't even put up remotely of a fight. But you saw some throws by J.J. McCarthy. He had one outstanding throw. It was a deep out where he just rips it, and you see the arm strength, you see the velocity. You had a really good touchdown to Josh Oliver on the team's opening drive. You saw the kind of off-platform stuff he can do when he's escaping pressure and throwing on the run. So I thought there was a lot of good things to take away from this game. Was it phenomenal? No. But I thought after his last few outings, to have a performance like this is going to build confidence. And I think if he can string games like this as the season goes on, it'll give the Vikings at least some hope going into next season that he could be their guy. But again, it wasn't anything special per se, but definitely a step in the right direction. And I think for Kevin O'Connell, you're really happy seeing this out of the young quarterback.
It sounded like the entire week Kevin O'Connell was like, don't overthink this one. Just kind of go out there and play. So hopefully, even if the mechanics and stuff are all kind of a roller coaster, that he was kind of making plays. The guy that did not make any plays, and it's probably not his fault, was Justin Jefferson. So they hung 31. You get the Commanders' backups, corners, you're at home. Everything's looking good. And then he goes 2 for 11. Was there anything about the Justin Jefferson theatrics on the sideline? Anything about Justin Jefferson corner?
No. He only had 4 targets, so he just wasn't featured in the game plan. It was very odd. The Vikings didn't have to air the ball out to win this one, right? And I think McCarthy, and they played a lot of 12 and 13 personnel as well. So getting the tight ends was definitely some sort of focus for at least the game plan. You saw Josh Oliver score 2 touchdowns. I think TJ Hawkinson got a touchdown. So just the tight ends were featured more than the receivers in this game. But 4 targets, he caught 2 of them. What more could he do? He just wasn't getting targets. But in terms of the vibe, the broadcast kept making it a note. They would show Justin Jefferson say, hey, good throw, good job to McCarthy, even when the ball didn't come to him. So Justin Jefferson, for a bona fide number 1 receiver,
he's a good boy.
He has no diva. Yeah,
he's a good boy.
He is. He's a good teammate. He has no diva to him. And he was very supportive of McCarthy, and you saw that on broadcast. So I think vibes are good, vibes are high, and just a good team win by Minnesota.
Okay, well, let's talk about the opposite end because Jaden Daniels returned, and he didn't return for long.
No.
Takes throws an interception to Andrew Van Ginkel on a quick screen to the outside. Because
Again.
Yeah.
My God, it's incredible.
always does. And then on the ensuing return, gets bulldozed as a blocker and immediately lands on his left elbow with a huge brace on it, and then doesn't play for the rest of the day. So, look, this is the conversation we've kind of had with he and Joe Burrow of, oh, when you're deemed healthy, these are, NFL players that get paid to play football. At the same time, this is also a chance of happening because it's a contact sport. And what a rough season for Jaden Daniels, just never being healthy and being beaten up over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's brutal. Even before the injury, I mean, the team had one good drive in the first quarter that ended up in no points because Deebo Samuel dropped a pass on 4th down in the end zone. But other than that, guys, I mean, Jaden Daniels just looked completely out of sync. Wasn't on the same page with his receivers. Looked obviously very rusty out there. I thought he was moving around well. So, like, athletically, I thought there was no limitations. But just from a passing standpoint, very limited, very just not in the same rhythm with his pass catchers. So it was a ugly performance even before the injury. I did see on social media that Dan Quinn said, like, holding him out was more precautionary, maybe. So, like, chances are he's going to be able to play next week, even though at this point, why? Might as well just, like, put him on ice the rest of the season. It's already a lost year for them anyways. But, I mean, it sounds like he escaped disaster injury, but yeah, guys, just a complete lost season for Jaden Daniels, and this Commanders team is not, it's not. This is bad vibes. This is brutal. Zach Ertz potentially torn ACL. Just tough day for the Commanders.
Yeah, the whole season just a waste. They had the 6th overall pick. They've lost 8 straight games. 8 straight games for the Commanders. Like, these type of losing streaks make you wonder if Dan Quinn's even going to get another year. As great as last year was, like 8 losses in a row, that's brutal. And yeah, with the Ertz stuff, he came back because he thought this team was going to be a contending team. He's 35. He's got nothing left to prove. Last year could have easily just retired. That was a great season given his age. Comes back, you're finally in December, and your knee just goes sideways like that. Like, I just felt terrible for him. So yeah, it's the Commanders, just like one of those seasons where everything goes right last year and nothing goes right this entire season. And I was just looking at it. They don't have a 2nd round pick or a 4th round pick next year. So they have the 6th overall pick right now. They got a 3rd rounder, and then their next pick is like around 150. And they just don't have a lot of depth on the defensive side of the ball right now. So the Commanders have a lot of issues at this point.
Yeah. I do wonder if Cliff gets any head coaching interviews here. I understand, like, the win-loss stuff is quite bad in his favor. But at the same time, what offensive play callers out there are going to get coaching interviews? Like Cliff Kubiak and Joe Brady, and at least Cliff Kingsbury already has head coaching experience. So I do wonder if some of these teams are kind of going to run it back in that regard. But we'll see. Okay, let's go to the AFC West, where I'm sure the scoreboard doesn't really dictate just how far away this game was in terms of wins and losses. We'll get to why the final score does matter here at the end, but the Denver Broncos continue their winning ways. They're 11-2 on the season, despite maybe never feeling like an 11-2 team, and beat the Las Vegas Raiders 24-17. I mean, you talk about efficiency. Bo Nix, 31 of 38 for 212 yards and gets a rushing score on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of passing yards by Bo, but I swear, guys, the Broncos had the ball what felt like 90% of the game. I think they had a stat. The Broncos had 25. This is like in the middle of 3rd quarter. They had 25 plays in the Raiders side of the ball compared to the Raiders having 20 plays total in the whole game. Like, it was just ridiculous. They were sustaining 8+ minute drives. Bo's checking the ball down to RJ Harvey, moving the chains, just moving the ball methodically. This game was never competitive, honestly. The Raiders scored on their opening drive and then literally did nothing else the entire game. I mean, it was just complete domination by the Broncos offense, special teams, Marvin Mims punt return touchdown, and that was the end of it. It was sick.
Which is sick. I mean, he was like wrapped up. 3 guys basically tackled him, and somehow as soon as he breaks that, there's no one even close to him to put a hand on.
Get the punter. I mean, it was
yeah, go destroy the blocker.
Yeah.
destroy the punter.
It was
it's pretty cool
just
stuff.
non-competitive. I'd say the main takeaway for fantasy, RJ Harvey is the bell cow of this offense. It's no gimmicks, Jaleel McLaughlin, no Tyler Bidet. It's RJ Harvey's backfield, and Peyton loves this freaking guy. He loves RJ Harvey. Runs the ball hard, contact balance, vision, lateral quickness to make defenders miss. And then he's really involved in the passing game. I think 6 targets, 6 catches. A lot of those are on third down, third and shorts, converting, moving the chains. Bo loves him. I mean, he's going to be a focal point in this offense moving forward. And I think for good reason. I think he's a talented player. He brings juice to the backfield, and he's their guy. And Cortland Sutton had a good game, but offensively, the Broncos didn't need to do much. This was pretty non-competitive.
Yeah, they've now won 10 straight games, and if they win 3 of their remaining 4 games, they're very likely to have a bye. Now, they have some really good teams remaining, the Packers, Jacksonville, the Chiefs, and then the Chargers here. But this team's already in the playoffs, and they've got one of the best defenses in the league, so it really just comes down to like how much upside could we grade the offense? Could RJ Harvey turn into a player? Could Bo Nix have a little bit more consistency? Could Cortland Sutton go dunk on everybody? So it's good to hear that this game was like not all that close the entire way.
One final RJ Harvey stat that's from Next Gen Stats. He rushed 13 times for 60 yards and a touchdown against stacked boxes, 8+ defenders against the Raiders. His 10 successful runs against stacked boxes were the most in a game across the league since Derrick Henry in week 8.
He's good.
2022 season.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I had this one on the corner of my eye, Brentley, and it felt like on the first series, he touched the ball 5 times. I mean, just dominated the work in terms of 23 touches. Now, that was just for about 100 yards and a score, but that's a pretty dang good usage on top of it. I think as of right now, Brentley, the Denver Broncos are the number 1 seed in the AFC, just edging out the New England Patriots, both at 11-2. They're scheduled the rest of the way, though. It's the Packers, the Jaguars, the Chiefs, and the Chargers. I mean, 2 of those teams kind of have to win in order to get to the playoffs. And then some really, really quality opponents in there. So we'll see if they can continue this and make it, a 14-game winning streak heading into the postseason. That'd be nuts.
That's insane.
They do have
Absolutely
the underrated
insane.
ingredient. Their offensive line kicks ass. So I was looking at like that stacked boxes thing. Despite the stacked boxes, RJ Harvey had almost 2 yards before contact. Of course, you look at the Raiders, negative yards for that way.
I was literally saying it's polar opposites today. It was from the run blocking perspective. Just poor. I mean, Genty's he can't do anything today. Again, I think he had 30 yards. It's just 10 carries, 30 yards. It's just he can't do anything.
So
it's
what I
tough.
wanted to bring up was how this game ended. So the final drive here for the Raiders, which, by the way, Geno Smith was not in for. It was Kenny Pickett because Geno Smith got removed in this game. 6 plays, 44 yards with less than a minute to go. They get a 26-yard pass with 16 seconds on 2nd and 10. It's to Tyler Lockett. Then they get a penalty tacked on top of it for a delay of game, which puts them.
Yeah, he wouldn't let him up.
Which puts them at the plus 28. And so instead of, trying to throw a touchdown like most other teams do, Pete Carroll's instead like, we'll just take some points here and get a field goal. Well, that mattered to a lot of people because at that time, the spread, the point difference was 10. The spread heading into it was 8 or 8.5, depending on what prediction market you use out there. Should be underdog. And so this game now ends with 7 points. And that also hit the over at the exact same time. So what a bad beat at the end of this one because Pete Carroll just wanted to take home 3 extra points in his pocket.
I don't know what he was thinking. I think he thought maybe there'd be 1 second.
That's what I can justify this one. I think I can I thought his best chance of winning was the field goal is made within 4 seconds. And then just onside kick it all the way to the end zone or something. I mean, it's impossible to score a touchdown running the ball from 5 seconds out. So I think that's how you justify it. Now, the coincidence was very on the nose. So you deserve to be frustrated. Like as Brentley said, if you're on the Broncos and they kicked the Raiders' ass the entire game, then you deserve to be frustrated. But I do think I understand what Pete Carroll is maybe thinking.
We'll close with one fantasy question. I noticed last week that Pat Bryant ran more routes than Troy Franklin. If we just look at pure production, Pat Bryant caught all 4 of his targets for 32 yards. Your guy Troy Franklin caught 3 of his 4 targets for 11 yards. Obviously, a ton of people touched the ball here, including Lil Jordan Humphrey and Adam Prentice and Adam Troutman. We can keep going on and on down the list. Evan Ingram, just 2 catches for 8 yards. Did you see anything about the Pat Bryant ascension here?
You guys mentioned even last week you kind of started seeing Pat Bryant more involved in the offense and Troy specifically not, right? I think that trend was similar today. I think for as much faith and chemistry that Bo and Troy have, you see this budding chemistry behind Pat Bryant and Bo. You see them dapping each other up a lot on the sideline. There's some sort of relationship forming there. And I think Pat Bryant, and again, like you won't find a bigger Troy Franklin fan than me. I literally have multiple jerseys of his. Like there's more. There's more.
That's unbelievable, family. That is unreal.
What an unbelievable admission. Of all the Oregon Ducks ever, you have multiple Troy Franklin jerseys.
What were you doing on Combine night? Were you just having a meltdown?
Had to delete my Twitter app because of the damn gauntlet drill. It was like the bane of my existence.
Oh my god!
At first, Troy Oregon was filthy, by the way, but
he was.
But I do think for as much big plays as he gets, he does have the drops. The mistakes, and he had one today. He bobbled the pass where it was 4th and 3. He didn't catch it cleanly, and then they marked him short of the sticks. Pat Bryant brings a level of security, I feel like, where he catches the ball cleaner, and you feel just more comfortable in those situations. I don't think. He's way more physical too. And those things. I don't think he offers a level of big plays that Troy does, but you're starting to see Pat Bryant more involved in the offense, and I'll be interested to see kind of as this gets settled where it levels out. But certainly he's definitely been more involved over the past 2 weeks, and I'm surprised Marvin Mims is not more involved in the offense as well. I think that's been a shocker to me since he's been back from injury. Yeah,
Sean Payton loves his big dudes.
That's what it is. Pat Bryant's December football and Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims for September. Come on.
Yeah. Final question. It's on another rookie. This is the most we've seen of Jack Besh. 6 targets, 6 catches, 50 yards. It kind of seemed like they told everyone else to sit down, and they finally gave Jack Besh like a full-time role. I know the Raiders at large just sucked, but anything you notice here of Besh?
No, he looked good. I mean, he's just your classic position receiver. He had a good couple catches down the sideline, had a really good catch on 3rd down. You saw strong hands. He plucked the ball for a 1st down conversion. It was really nice to kind of get him going. I'm surprised that, what are we in week 14? And he's just now kind of being featured in this offense that has no number 1 receiver outside of their tight end. So certainly good to see him more involved. I'd like to see him more involved in the weeks to come, because I do think he could be a redeeming part of their offense moving forward in future years. I liked him coming out of TCU, big, physical, strong at the catch point, good after the catch. But, I think he had 50 yards, so not a ton of production, but definitely good to see him more involved in the offense, especially because other than that, they couldn't really do anything at all, so.
Thornton was a healthy scratch again in this one, so they've quickly moved on. He wasn't able to do anything. So that's like a big slot type. It's going to be him and Bowers together is kind of a weird, like they need like a true number 1. So hopefully they can address that eventually.
All right, Brentley. Thanks very much, buddy.
All righty, guys. See you next week.
Before we talk about the games we did not get eyes on Sunday, let's wind it back to Thursday. 74 points combined between the Lions and the Cowboys. 44 to Detroit, 30 to Dallas. There's a lot to discuss here. I mean, it was a must win, Hayden, in order for the Lions to continue on their playoff hopes, according to the Athletics playoff simulator based on Sunday's outcomes. That's at 44% now, which is much better than it was, down to 30% at this time last week. And as for the Cowboys, after this loss, and despite the improved defensive play for much of it, that did not show up in this one, and they're down to 9% chance of making the playoffs.
Let's start with the Cowboys just real quick. Just super frustrating season for them, because the difference of not having Micah Parsons and then finally getting Quinnen Williams about week 10, there were some games there that were either ties or games that they could have won. And that's going to be the difference of wasting this really elite offense. And they were moving the ball on the Lions for most of this game, put up 30 points, even though CeeDee Lamb left in the first half. So that was just like a very frustrating year for the Dallas Cowboys. Just those two trades in tandem. Quinton Williams is going to be an awesome addition for this team long-term. He was still very good, but at the same time, their DBs were just so bad. They still don't have that many edge rushers. And then for those 2 or 3 months in a row without either one of those star players, they lost some games that cost them a playoff berth, which is super frustrating because Dak Prescott has been playing like a top 5 quarterback. George Pickens ascended. The offensive line's been very good. So just a super frustrating year for the Dallas Cowboys.
The offense has just been wasted. It's really that simple. Like
Yeah.
you can look at a bunch of one-score games early, like the 24-20 against Philadelphia in week 1. You look at the Packers tie, that was 40-40. You know, the loss to the Panthers, 30-27. You know, we can talk about other contests here. I mean, they lost to Arizona Cardinals 27-17. Jerry Jones wasted this offense in this version of it. And it was when CeeDee Lamb was on the field, when CeeDee Lamb was off of it, it kind of didn't matter. It was great the entire time. And I agree with you. The Quinn Williams trade is going to look like a good thing because he is a very good player and they can run these cool 5-man fronts and shut down the run and all this type of stuff. But you're not making the playoffs now. And you maybe could have if you kind of rearranged the order of some of these moves.
Yeah, and stopping the run didn't get him very far in this game. Jahmyr Gibbs scores 3 touchdowns, and David Montgomery scores another touchdown. So it wasn't even like it was an elite rushing defense in this game. So yeah, it's a super frustrating year in general. Hopefully CeeDee Lamb has enough time to return for the fantasy playoffs for us. And then we got to investigate this Ryan Flournoy kid going for 9 for 115 and a touchdown.
Well,
just crazy.
To me, it was peak Steelers George Pickens that we got kind of for the first time this season. I mean, I think multiple meltdowns, some effort things, and all of that kind of wrapped up into his worst showing of the season, which, you know, that
happens.
Isn't totally unexpected. That freaking happens in NFL football. But yeah, Flournoy, when Lamb was out, had a couple contests where he was on my radar, but was not expecting it when CeeDee Lamb played for the vast majority of the game. But as we know, CeeDee Lamb also left with a concussion here too.
Yeah, so I think that's the Cowboys season summed up. They're right now second in total points this year on offense. And what do you say? They have no chance pretty much to make the playoffs. Like that, those two 9%. Things should not those two things should not work together. That's embarrassing.
Okay, on the Lions end, you mentioned it. Jahmyr Gibbs 3 touchdowns on 43 yards rushing, and then 77 yards receiving with 7 receptions. They did have a massive another defensive injury here with Brian Branch. Again, I was stunned to see Amon-Ra St. Brown suit up for this game and even have the ability to go for 6 for 92. Mm-hmm. Isaac Tesla does get a touchdown here, but if the Lions make the playoffs, it's just not going to be, and to me, feel the same as other Lions ones. So while it's a totally up in the air type season, I don't know if I will think of this Lions team as even among those contenders of a group that may be 6 or 7 teams deep.
Yeah, I mean, the NFC is just so loaded that any team winning it, you're against all odds here. Especially the Lions, they're gonna have to win some road games. We've had the on-off splits, but I think you mentioned it's another one of these years back to back where the Lions are just getting obliterated on defense with injuries. So Brian Branch torn Achilles, and that's just where that Dan Campbell speech after they lost a couple playoff games ago, where he's like, it's hard to get back here. We probably won't get back here. Like, he was just brutally honest, and he knows it. Like, this is just the NFL. Like, a lot of things have to go your way. Now, the saving grace is the Cowboys are number 2 in scoring this year. The number 1 team in scoring is the Detroit Lions. So they can win some shootouts here. Jared Goff played very well in this one. Jameson Williams had another very good game. By the way, Jameson Williams, when he thought he scored a touchdown, he got the football and he threw this thing. No one's thrown a football further than JMO. They did not call a delay game penalty on him. The ball is probably still up in the air. I could not believe that. So that was my favorite play of the game. And then the other one was the Amon-Ra St. Brown to kind of ice it, going over the middle, playing on a bad ankle here to really kind of put this game away here, which is just a lot of grit for the Lions. I don't know who I'm rooting to make the playoffs, so I would like to see the Lions in the playoffs. I wish there was an eighth team in the NFC. It's a fun team to watch. Like you said,
Take one from the AFC. Is that what you're suggesting here? I mean, you wanted to redo all the other conferences.
Well, AFC North
automatic berths previously.
Let's put the Detroit Lions in the AFC North and see what happens. For example, but too many injuries in the secondary right now for the Detroit Lions.
So Lions rest away. Rams this week. If they beat the Rams, they have a 65% chance of making it. Tall order. Then the Steelers, then the Vikings. But really the game that matters the most is this Rams one and then the Bears at the end in week 18. That one, if they make it, apparently this playoff simulator, 72% chance if they win against the Bears in week 18 to make the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah. That's a winnable game.
I'm just going by the numbers. I don't know what it means. Just going by the numbers here.
Of course, we're not running models in our head.
Nope. Because like if you look at the current standings right now, the Lions are the 8th seed at 8-5. But yeah, that's just one game behind the Bears, and I guess they would have the tiebreaker at that point.
I tweeted this: Jahmyr Gibbs first overall pick next year. That's just kind of a gut feel, but that feels like it's going to be true.
Okay, let's go back to Sunday to two games we did not get eyeballs on, and we have to start. I mean, the NFC playoff picture continues to be muddied as the New Orleans Saints go into Tampa Bay. I mean, a rainy, soaked, rough field, and beat the Bucs 24-20. There's a lot to hit on here. First, let's start with the Saints offense, I guess.
Of course.
I mean, Tyler Shuck, 144 passing yards and an interception, but it doesn't matter when your name is also Taysom Shuck because he carries the ball 7 times for 55 yards and 2 scores. What the hell?
I know, man. I'm telling you, though, there's just something about his gameplay that is just a little bit different than what I thought he was going to be like. He's more stuff out of structure. Like that one touchdown, he won a race to the end zone, you know? So there's a chance he can have like a Ryan Tannehill-esque. That was like kind of my upside comp for him. But the reality of the situation with this win, they're now picking at 5th overall. Is there even going to be a quarterback for them to take if they're kind of at 5th overall versus at 1st or 2nd overall? And he's flashed enough like wow moments that I can see them saying, you know what, we need to take the edge rusher or another wide receiver, whatever the hell they're gonna want. But he's at least flashed more upside moments, and like 2 rushing scores, 55 yards on the ground to me is like that's not nothing.
Yeah, it seemed like the rushing stuff was even better than the passing stuff. I didn't get eyeballs on this one at all, but like the passing numbers are not good. So I'll be very interested to see and go back because again, they played each other in Shuck's first start, and the passing numbers were basically this, and he added nothing from the rushing element. So maybe that was kind of the curveball they brought into this one.
Yeah, but even a bunch of his passing production is a little bit more out of structure. So I think it's a sign of, okay, he's a rookie, so he's not seeing the field correctly. It's also the Saints. There's no talent out there. But if you're at least making some plays outside of the pocket, like that's something that we need to be looking for in the modern era. So, I mean, you beat Todd Bowles on the road.
So the Bucs were only down by 4 at home. They get the ball with 1:48 left on the clock, and you have to have a touchdown here. It goes incompletion, 6-yard run. Then on 4th and 4, a little 3-yard pass short of the 6 to K. Dotton, who needs a couple inches more to cross it over. That's really rough stuff from Baker Mayfield and this offense. Like when you got to have it in that moment in order to like sustain this big lead. And now they are tied with the Panthers for the NFC South at this moment. And like Baker continues, and this is just statistically 14 of 30, 122, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 0 sacks taken at this point. But I know at least one occasion, maybe multiple, Emeka Egbuka was at fault here, like a drop touchdown, and his day finishes on 9 targets, 2 receptions for 15 yards. I don't know if we've ever seen a player be the most efficient wide receiver in the league in weeks 1 through 7, and then be the least efficient wide receiver in the league from week 8 through 14.
He got the yips. I don't know what date he got the yip, but we've just seen the yips for a very long time. So it's one of these things where I think we'll probably look back and be like, remember when he had the yips to close as a rookie, and he's going to be a very good player the rest of the time. But yeah, super frustrating. It's cost some games. By the way, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 22nd in yards per play. They're sandwiched between the Steelers, the Cardinals, the Texans, the Panthers. You know, it's just like has not been the same level offense without Liam Cohen over there. No Tristan Wirfs in this one. That's obviously another huge deal. And then I think Ben Bredesen left again, their guard. So that'd be 3 out of the 5 starters not available when they did have that really pathetic last call series.
The only games that matter for them and for the Panthers are the 2 games they have left on the schedule. That's in week 16 and in week 18. If either team wins both of those, they are making the postseason. It is that simple. So it doesn't matter if like the Panthers are favored against the Saints next week. Like those games for either organization do not matter.
Yeah.
It's just the 2 against each other in week 16 and week 18.
It sounds like Mike Evans is going to return on
Next week,
Thursday,
on Thursday.
here.
Yeah.
Unless they wanted to save it all for the Carolina Panthers too. But the Buccaneers right now, they're pretty banged up front. Tristan Wirfs' injury probably was the difference here.
We'll close things out with the Miami Dolphins being the New York Jets 34-20. So we learned yesterday that Justin Fields was going to miss this game due to like an injury in practice. Then Tyrod Taylor only drops back 4 times before he is also injured, completes 1 pass for 6 yards along with an interception. And that means we get rookie, I think, out of Missouri. Isn't that right? I mean, I watched a lot of
Your
Luther
boy.
Burden in that.
Oh, there were so many Brady Cook tweets because of Luther Burden tape watchers. Oh my God.
Well, in his debut, he goes 14 of 30 for 163, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 6 sacks taken. So maybe
That
those
feels
tweets
right.
should stand.
Yeah, no, those tweets were never wrong. Just providing some context here. My big takeaway for this game was just the Dolphins. They're on a big winning streak right now. So since he's lost the locker room, he's 5-1. He's on a 4-game win streak. Now they haven't played a bunch of like elite games, or opponents, but that's pretty impressive. I think that he's going to get another year down there. It just depends on what they're going to do at the quarterback position.
Mike McDaniel said that Devon Achane was available to return in an emergency. He chose him not to put back in. They face the Steelers next week, which, by the way, the Dolphins are 6-7 and might be like the quietest team that has any chance of making the playoffs. Now it's less than 1%, but they at least are
not zero.
still in the playoff picture.
Yeah.
But Mike McDaniel says, quote, "I promise you he'll be there if he's ready." Now, what we did learn in his absence is that Jalen Wright was the immediate backup with 24 carries, 107 yards, and a score. I might have progressed 1 extra team in the employees only league with my Jalen Wright shares on top of that.
Yeah.
But even as a part-time injured player, Devon Achane still racked up 92 yards on just 7 carries and a score.
Yeah, he still goes over 100 total yards. He had another 13-yarder through the air. Yeah, he's an incredible player. There was a couple plays I did see from this where Patrick Paul, their 2nd-round left tackle from a couple drafts ago, and then Aaron Brewer, their new center, they're both extremely athletic, and you can see them pulling out in space, and Mike McDaniel's got to be loving these 2 guys. Like, they have 2 functional offensive linemen, but they weaponize them, and that's just, like, really good coaching and then just good scouting to get both of those guys. They've been both of them excellent for Miami. It's just saving their entire watchability.
That does it for us. If you made it to the end, hit that subscribe button. I'm sure you have already, but be sure to do that. And go play an underdog. Support us. These next few weeks, if you're out or didn't make the playoffs in your fantasy league, go and play on UD instead. It's that simple. Use promo code the show, link in the description. We're in over 40 states. If you play $5, you get $75 in bonus cash. We also have I'm not even going to say what it is because it might be embargoed, but maybe some promos and some things in your direction pretty soon. I'm not sure if
and playoff. How about just playoff best ball, the best game ever? Playoff best ball. You can if you think you can figure out the NFL playoffs right now. Go over there and play that. You can draft any combination because nobody knows who's going to end up in the Super Bowl.
Good luck. All right, that does it. Thanks for Mosho and Weaves and Hayden. Up the Villa, everyone. Ooh, 3rd place in the PL. Talk to y'all soon. See ya.